drivers were old.
Oh, no,
So,
we're good.
did it work?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
not live, but recording.
Okay, great.
All right, I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
It's coffee before bed.
Yep.
Jeff, what's got your piss boiling this week? 'Cause I've been thinking about that phrase that you dropped on me last week.
Well, okay, so the first thing that's desalinating my pee
distilling it,
is just in time driver updating. That's this is coffee before bed, where we update the drivers just before recording.
Right.
And so are you asking about anything else that might be?
I'm asking you about anything else because I am absolutely 100% not up to speed on any news because I've been writing for the last 4 days. So,
Well, perhaps you should explain that.
I've been writing my results section on my dissertation, which involves way too much math.
Go on.
That's all I have to report, man. My brain, there's parts of my brain that are just like melted on this thing now.
Are they just fused to other parts of your brain?
Well, yeah, they're on permanent cooldown at the moment.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, yeah. So I've done more statistical work in the last 4 days than I've probably done in the past 5 years. So,
Which would be a lifetime for me.
no, you've probably done.
Statistical analysis?
Well, statistical analysis isn't really the hard part. For me, the hard part is coding, because I use a program where you have to code everything. So, and I haven't done coding in a long time, man. So,
Go on. That's more coding than... Okay. I don't know how much coding you think I do in English literature.
no, but I know. Didn't you learn C at one point in time?
Well, I taught myself that
Okay.
from a book that my dad had
Yeah.
way back in the day. I don't remember a thing about it.
Oh,
But
okay.
he had a book, and I thought it looked interesting. It
Yeah.
wasn't, but yeah, that was like in seventh grade.
Oh, okay. That was that long ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Man, has C been around that long? Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the one that you're supposed to learn now? Isn't it C sharp or something?
I have no idea. It's maybe that. I don't know. Maybe
Python. Yeah.
I don't know. Some people talk about programming in Rust and all this other stuff. I don't
Rust?
know.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, the program that I use is called Stata, and it's just like it's fine once you kind of get going on it, but it's like you remember like programming, you get like those syntax errors, and you're like, please fucking tell me what's wrong.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
And nowadays you just Google it, and so
Okay. Yeah.
but on the Google, especially with this program, I discovered there's a lot of people out there who think they know what they're doing.
Oh.
And they just post shit up there that turns out to be wrong. So, yeah. So I stepped on a few landmines the last couple of days, but
Look, I understand. I mean, again, I can't speak to this. This is all.
right.
This is beyond me, dude. It shouldn't be. It should be something that I should have had the ambition to jump in and say, for the sake of being part of this universe that is quickly moving on without me. Right? I should have my toes set in this.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't. That means I am on the collision course I am on a collision course with grumpy adulthood.
Yeah, you got a ways to go though, man.
I do, and
Yeah.
I also understand that not all facets of my brain are entirely shut off, where you can take a look at certain people and say, all right, well, music peaked for you in 1988, which was coinciding with the year that you graduated high school. Therefore, Megadeth is still the raddest band ever.
Yeah.
So I get it. So I understand that. And I certainly don't think anything that I formerly used to think was the best ever is that case. And I actually do watch new movies and TV shows
Yeah,
and
you do.
listen to new music. And
Yeah. So since I've been commuting, I've been doing that, but it's the same old music that I was listening to before COVID.
that's a problem.
It doesn't really seem to have changed.
Well, I don't I don't think COVID is the impetus for like musical change.
Well, no. COVID, no. Like, I'm not saying that COVID was. I'm just saying that, like, I didn't have to commute for 2 years. Okay, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. All right, I didn't have to commute
I
for
see,
2 years.
I see, right.
And so I get back, and the radio station that I listen to, it's not like the cutting edge pop station. Okay, so but they play new songs every hour.
Oh,
Okay, and so like I'm sitting there listening. It's like, oh, Imagine Dragons has another album out. Cool. It sounds just like the previous album.
my brother just went to their concert.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did.
So did he have to mortgage his house to get things?
He didn't say that, but he definitely went, and he recognized. I didn't look. I'm aware of them only because of, like, I didn't know that this was the band, but evidently their songs are incredibly popular and used in a lot of like TV commercials and stuff.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
That's how I knew them. And
Like any restaurant you go into, or if it's got music on in the background, you're gonna
Yeah.
get an Imagine Dragons song about every 5 minutes. So
really,
yeah.
any restaurant I go to, has
Well, not
got,
any.
like,
No, if you go to an Italian restaurant, they'll be done in mandolins. But come on.
that, of course.
So if you go to like a sports bar or something like that, it's gonna have that.
It's-
So
those places I go to, I always hear just like, "Hey, it's Rihanna." Right?
you're gonna get some of that too in there, yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think my wife and daughter were actually gonna go to that. Was it in Denver?
I
Yeah, I'm guessing it was.
I think so. It was at a venue that I'd never been to, but evidently is huge.
Oh.
Yeah, he said it, and I knew I'd never been there.
The stock show or something.
I would remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was just that it was.
They're big enough where they're almost kind of like a Mile High crowd. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it was a big place. It essentially it was I can't remember.
Was
I'll
it
have
at
to ask
Boulder?
him.
Yeah.
It was a Boulder. Yeah, it definitely was a Boulder.
Well, they do some pretty big concerts at the football stadium there. So
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, there's a couple arenas that.
I'm trying to think of arenas in Denver. So there's a big one up in Broomfield. So there's another one. There's of course the basketball one. What
You're about to call it McNichols.
I was about to call
I
it
know you're
McNichols,
about to
yeah.
call it Big Mac.
So,
That's fine.
Pepsi
No, it's
Center.
been the
There we
Pepsi Center
go.
for a
Yeah.
long time, and
The Big Mac. Yeah, you're right. I forgot.
I saw shows at McNichols. Yeah,
Yeah.
way back in the day. So yeah, there's the Pepsi Center. Then there's of course like the Ogden, the Fillmore. I've been to all those places.
Was it outdoors? Was it Fiddlers?
Yeah, there's Fiddlers. It wasn't Fiddlers.
Oh, okay.
Nor was it. Yeah, he didn't go all the way up to Red Rocks or anything like that.
I've only been there once, man. So
Did you like it?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Rocks is great.
Red Rocks Amphitheater. Yeah,
Yeah. Parking there blows. So
depends on when you get there.
okay, yeah. When I got there, it sucked. So actually getting out of there was a bitch too. So
There's also that. It really depends on where you need to be the next day.
yeah, that's true.
Because if you're thinking like, "Ah, I gotta, to work and all that.
I'm gonna leave halfway through the last band.
Depends on who you're seeing. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so yeah, I've seen a bunch of shows at Red Rocks, and there's that one place that's I swear I can't remember where it is. I feel like I see it. It's always on the way out of Denver, like the Budweiser Theater.
Oh, way up on the north side?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe that was the one he went to because I think that's kind of a big place.
It's way up there in Northglenn, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah. But
Like
you're right,
it's-
you can see it from the interstate.
Yeah,
I know which
it's,
one you're
it's
talking
like
about.
one of the last things that you see that says, "All right, well, there went Denver."
Quote, yeah.
Right.
You're not quite to the big Johnson truck stop yet. So,
Is that-
Johnson's Corner.
Is
Johnson's Corner. Johnson's Corner.
But isn't that like the start to Loveland?
Yeah.
You consider like Denver all the way up to Johnson's Corner?
For now, yeah, of course.
Wow. Okay,
So,
an
yeah.
indictment.
Well, I don't know. I guess you could say that if you get past E470 up in the north, it kind of thins out. So, and then you got about, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before you hit Johnson's Corner? I can't remember, man. I haven't done that drive
Nor
on
have
a
I.
regular
I'm
basis
telling
in
yeah.
15 years. So
Okay, it wasn't 15 for me.
it
All
was
right, so it was
15
a
years
while
ago.
back, for me here, but
Well, I did it every
just a few
week.
years.
So I did it every fucking week. So yeah, you did too, didn't you? No, you were like
Not
every other
every
week.
so it was
Yeah,
every 2 weeks or every
yeah,
4 weeks,
yeah,
or and for a while, I was going into uh, north and then eastern Colorado
yeah.
instead of going another 600 miles.
You just kick all the way out to, what is it, Morrison out there? What is it?
Uh,
Sterling, Hudson.
Hudson,
Yeah.
and Firestone, and those places. You have Frederick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I have no reason to go back up there, and so
No, and it's not like I can look at those places and say there was a restaurant up there that was so
no,
fantastic that I have to make the trip. It didn't work out that way. No.
no.
It
That's not
didn't.
how the math works.
Well, every now and then you come across a gem, like even in uh where was it? Uh Williston. In Williston there was North Dakota, there was just this gem of a donut shop there. Just making their own fresh stuff.
Mhm.
And you'd look at this and you'd say, all right, well, so this is a one Hardee's town, and
You don't even have a Carl's Jr.
no, that was Hardee's territory,
Right? Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
Like they cordon it off like they own the United States and say, look, Carl's Jr. stay on your side of the
They're the same
Mississippi.
fucking company, aren't they?
They have different menu items.
Yeah, but like even the logos and stuff are the
They
same.
are.
Now. Yeah.
They. It's
I
like
remember when Hardee's growing up, there were two Hardee's here in
there was
town.
one down there.
Yeah, there was one in between the two split lanes of Academy, and that
yeah.
one had the gnarly orange fucking interior. So
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then there was the one down by Palmer. So
I never went to that one. I went to the one down on South Academy a few times,
Oh, okay.
and you have to understand the whole. You wouldn't be there. I didn't go there like on a day off or something. It was only if, hey, we're all going to skip third period and go to Hardee's for breakfast,
Right.
And you would get there, and it's just like, so do you want your sandwich greasy or double greasy?
yeah,
It's like, double greasy.
Yeah.
And that's what they used to do. So, like, there are still items that are unique to Hardee's that are not Carl's Jr.
yeah.
But I think Hardee's, there may be another company there, I don't know, but I think they're kind of like, they've got kind of like a Christian Holy Trinity thing going on where it's like two companies, one God.
Okay, yeah. So one of them calls him Yahweh. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a real Father, Son, Holy Spirit thing going on where it's like, yes, they're all different, but they're one God.
Man, I haven't even been to Carl's Jr. in 10 years. So it's been a long time. I'm not a fan. So
That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll do in a pinch, but there's
I haven't gone there ever since they opened up Jack in the Box, and then I stopped going there too.
Oh.
Yeah.
well, you
I don't eat.
You don't fast food.
I don't do
like
it at all
remotely
anymore,
at all.
man. Yeah. So I mean, I used to be once a week Taco Bell guy.
Right.
And now I just make my own tacos, and they're way fucking better. So, yeah. I don't know, man.
Patrick, I bought a quesadilla press.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a lot of things with that.
Yes. So, I totally understand.
Oh, that explains the flour tortillas. Yeah. Got it.
You just fold it over and put it in there, and
Yeah.
over there so you can also make like pancakes out of it. That's actually a great invention. That was the I was using my old Foreman, right? And the plates were starting to they were like starting to decompose into like the two metals they were like composed of.
They were separating into copper and nickel.
I mean, I don't think it was battlefield steel, but
Yeah.
but whatever. But yeah, so they were breaking down, and I was like, shit, I don't even know if you can order new plates on this. And then I was like, are Foreman grills still the new hotness? And then,
It was panini makers for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I looked on Amazon and they said, why don't you try one of these? I said, okay. I hate thinking, but sure.
Sure.
And then it had it to me in one day and we were good.
Cool.
And I use that all the time. But yes, I don't really. I'll still go for fast food every now and then, but
Yeah.
I mean, really not that often.
No. I mean, I'll think about it from time to time. It's like, man, it'd be nice to just kind of stop and grab this here real quick. But then, I'll get within range and there'll be like a car in the drive-thru, and I'll be like, fuck
You
that.
start cussing.
Yeah. So
I know
get me out of here.
that was always my thing. Yeah, and it's so unfair. It's like these motherfuckers keep stealing my idea because the whole thing is I would always break it down to. So what are the odds that at fucking 3:44 p.m. on a Tuesday, you want to go to the same goddamn Fuzzy's Tacos that I want to go to, and I'd see like two people in the line, and I'd become enraged, and I'm like, why am I so mad about this?
Yeah.
And then, I started like...
Fuzzies have a drive-thru?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, I don't think so. Yeah, that's right. You always get a DoorDash, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my weekly Instacart thing done today. So I actually did the math on that. I pay a fairly substantial premium to have people come and like bring groceries to me, but I'm not going back, man.
I guess that's my question. Is that a service that's worth it?
It's totally worth it, man.
Right.
It's absolutely worth it. So, and see, the funny thing is I'd say over the last like 3 to 6 months, my menu of things that I can cook really well has really grown a lot. And so I can do a lot with just a few groceries every single week now.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I will say that my grocery bill has actually gone down for two reasons. Because the cost of them has gone up. So it's... Well, I don't like that I'm throwing away all this food.
Yeah, me neither.
But the other thing was taking stock of, well, am I buying things that I know for a fact that I'm either not going to enjoy or I'm not going to eat this much of?
Yeah, and so, like, I used to get in such trouble at Costco with that shit, because it was like, oh, fuck yeah, I want 64 taquitos.
Right.
And then you eat 3 of them, you're like, these suck.
I know.
And then it lives in your freezer for the next year and a half, So I've gotten to a point in time where it is just so much easier for me to get on the Instacart, grab like 5-10 things, from King Supers that I need, and then it's just like, all right, but I don't need them today. Okay, and so I'll just leave. It's like my Amazon thing now. I just throw them in the cart. Okay,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then on Fridays I just punch it in, and my grocery bills have been going down. Because I've gotten more like careful about what it is that I buy. I don't buy like, shit that's gotten really expensive or things like processed foods, prepackaged shit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Vegetables aren't that much more expensive, so then they were.
No, actually, vegetables are. Yeah.
Meat is more expensive.
It is,
Yeah.
but I mean, meat you can pick and choose. You can really play that. As a matter of fact, the more of it that you know how to cook, that you can take a look at and see. All right, well, they have a deal on this, right?
So exactly, and it's like, oh yeah, no, I can absolutely. I know how to cook a T-bone now.
Right.
So I was like, sweet,
I know that's Will's thing. Will is he is like the dog, the bounty hunter of like meat sales.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's good at it. He even tells me sometimes. He's just like, I mean, it's not like he's unreasonably excited about it, right?
Yeah.
Because I used to know people that were like, hey, I got a sale on this.
Yeah.
Sit down for a minute. I'm going to tell you about it. But Will, on the other hand, is very much like, he'll tell me, he's like, I saw this at Safeway.
Okay. So he's actually shopping.
He does,
okay.
And
I thought maybe he was doing like Omaha steaks or something.
No. He actually like shops almost in the way that like couponers used to.
He's got a little book. So my mom used to have a little address book. So with all the accordion ones with all the dividers in them.
Yeah, it had.
So she had all our coupons, and we'd go hit the commissary, and oh my god.
Yeah.
So no, I don't know. I've been thinking about joining one of the meat clubs. So I was looking at Omaha Steaks, and then I was looking at Butcher Box. So I don't know, man. I don't know if it would actually be worth it, but um, and so like steak is regularly in my rotation. That's in my weekly rotation. All
I
right.
know.
So
Yeah.
because I've gotten to the point in time where I'm very comfortable cooking them. All right, and I won't fuck it up. All right, which is always the thing that I didn't like about steak was, you stop paying attention for like 1 minute and you just ruined a meal that you've been saving up for, kind of thing.
Yep, you can do that.
Yeah, so no, I'm good at it now, and so that one's in there. I've actually gotten away from chicken, so a little bit. I still have chicken, like maybe once a week, maybe every other week.
Yeah.
But I hate fucking handling it, man, because the chicken that you get, like from the grocery stores, is always kind of slimy. So
Well, and it's gonna be. I mean, this is the weird thing. Is all right. So I know the rules.
Sure.
I know how to cook chicken.
yeah,
But I don't trust it. So I always
No.
give it about 1.5 more minutes
yeah.
than it needs.
I've
and,
gotten religious about using a meat thermometer on
and
it. Yeah.
what happens to it?
Oh,
Chicken dries out. Like there is a
you
twilight.
You got a 30-second window, man. So
There is a twilight between it's fucking raw and just like the dog won't eat this. It's too tough.
Dog won't eat this. Is
Yeah,
You won't even gum it to death. Yeah.
yeah, and because I have that that undying fear of that, I always end up with chicken that is just a little bit too tough.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, so the chicken things that I've been doing, so I've been doing some things with, like, actual raw chicken. So we cook it, and we usually bake it. I never grill it anymore. I never grill shit anymore, man.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's a waste
As
of
far
time.
as I'm concerned. Unless
So,
I would grill shit if I was into. I wouldn't grill, I would smoke at this point.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Because when that lawyer made that salmon,
That was pretty good. Yeah.
That was crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been doing more fish lately, but whitefish. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll think about it a little bit. I did switch my cut of steaks though. I went from sirloins to strips. So
I find strips to be far superior.
they cook great. So yeah, they cook really
far
well.
superior.
Yeah. So I did get a pack of strips last time. It was like $55. So yeah. So
How
but
many did you get?
I think I got 6. So
All right. Well,
Yeah.
that's like $9 a steak.
yeah, well
Yeah.
they're big too,
Yeah,
man.
that's like $9 a steak. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, each one of those feeds the both of us. So
Well, of
I
course.
don't need to make 2.
And then you flip it around and say like, oh, well, this is $19 at a.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because I know how you cook those. I do a pretty fine job myself, but I'm like, this isn't worth $10 to cook.
Yeah. So, well, I get 2 meals out of it, man. So.
Well, on top of it, yeah, but I mean, just in terms of a product that comes out, because you're not, God knows, you're not going to saw it in half and just cook one half of that for you.
No.
So I get that, but yeah, you're just like, this is not worth the labor that you put into it. So it's like, all right, got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I've had $50, I've had $100 steak, I've had,
I don't think I've ever had a $100 steak. So
I have.
I've had a $50 steak.
Yeah, I had a $100 steak at Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. And,
Oh, okay.
it was nice, but either I wasn't sophisticated enough to appreciate the difference, because it did taste great. Don't get me wrong, but there was no part of me where I said, "This is the only steak that will do."
Right.
Right.
I've climbed that Mount Everest of steaks.
Well, exactly, because you know how it works. With certain things, when you go to, Costco or whatever, right? If you want Pringles chips, you get those. If you look and see that there's like a Safeway brand like Kroger Bowls or whatever it is, whatever generic form of Pringles are there, it's just not gonna do.
Yeah.
Saving 34 cents.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I did actually upgrade. So I actually spend more on milk now than I used to. I get that Meadow Gold shit every single time.
That milk is amazing.
It's great, and you know what? It's at the point in time now where it's only like 30 or 40 cents more expensive a gallon.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I know.
So it's like,
I know.
well, yeah, we're gonna get that one. You know?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I don't know, man. I actually put gas in my car the other day and was surprised how much gas had come down. So,
Yeah, it's come down.
yeah,
It is not where it's supposed to be, but it's come down.
yeah.
I mean, granted,
how it goes
your
through,
prediction was that it was going to be at $4 for a long time.
I was wrong.
So,
Yeah.
mea culpa on that one, Patrick.
Oh, I've got lots of mea culpas.
All right, what else do you want to confess to?
The Ukraine thing. So, I've been watching.
Talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, no. So, well, okay. So I went dark on my news in feed on Tuesday. So, but on Monday when they were like, that's when. So there's one podcast that I listen to. It's through the Hoover Institute. It's got H.R. McMaster on it, who was Donald Trump's dude, this military guy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So usually he's great, all right, on military, and he's the one who's been saying for weeks that Ukraine's fucked. Basically, yeah. Guess who wasn't on the podcast this week? So, it'll be interesting to see when he comes back, man. So
Yeah, because you talked about that last time. Now, granted, this was just, I think the day that we had that was the counteroffensive. And
I think it was the next day. Yeah.
yeah, it was either
I think I woke up to the
day,
news.
yeah.
I think I woke up to the news after you and I podcast last Saturday.
Yeah.
So, or last Friday.
Yeah, it was either, well, no, we talked about it. So it was either, day of or the day before that we talked about it, because it had just recently happened. And that was the assertion that you had was, you're just delaying the inevitable, right?
Well, they still might be. You know, I don't know.
They still might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did get caught up with the people that have Ukrainian and Russian friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first response was, they don't really talk about it.
What do you mean?
Well,
They don't talk about the war? Or...
yeah, it's just kind of like, now it's background noise for them.
Oh, okay.
Which, so I've made this argument before.
But they're all in America, right?
No.
Oh, okay. So,
These were the people that are still talking to people that still have family in Ukraine and Russia.
but your students are here, right?
Yeah, like,
Yeah, okay.
back.
Yeah. Fuck that.
It was rather enlightening. So first thing was, I said, like, well, they don't really talk about it. It's just sort of like it's in the background now.
Yeah.
Which again is, there are certain things you're not supposed to become desensitized to.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if it's going on every single day, and like I'd say after like, well, it was about the first month, most of the people who wanted to get away from that area, those areas are probably away from that area, so they wouldn't have the same contact with it anymore.
Well, that's a lot of
Yeah.
it, and it's not just a case of want to, right?
Yeah.
It's also if you feel some sort of like absolute connection to your home, if you feel some sort of, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And she just sort of, I kept asking, I was like, what am I missing, right? What am I missing? What am I missing about this area? And how are they presenting this? And she would talk to the Russians, and she's like, well, they still love Putin. I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's an
And-
interesting question.
And so evidently, Russia is basically, they're North Korea, but worse.
On what?
So the way that this works is, Russians are basically like the worst kind of sports fans, right?
Oh, I've heard this before. Yeah.
Where you cannot, like, everything that happens, right? So it's like, well, yeah, the U.S. has been against us, all this time. It's like,
Yeah.
why? Like,
Right.
doesn't matter. They are,
Yeah.
right?
I've heard this argument. Yeah.
Yeah, the logic doesn't sink in. So when something else happens, like, it's not Putin's fault, it's these guys' fault.
Yeah. No, and you can never like actually like get them off that stance. So because like it'd be like one of those things. Well, that's what an imperialist would say, you know.
Right,
When you
right,
turn
right.
around and say, "No, Americans don't really give a shit about you," you say, "Well, that's just what they want you to think." You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and
heard this
that's
before.
and
Yeah.
that's where like the North Korean part came in, is because the whole reason that that place works the way it does is because there's been this threat of we told you that the South Koreans are going to come,
Right,
the
yeah.
U.S. are going to be coming for us, so they keep trying to provoke them, right? And then when it happens, they go, see,
Yeah, we
I
were
told
right.
you, I
Yeah.
told you. Whereas
That's where China's going too, man. So
rapidly, evidently,
rapidly. Yeah.
but yeah, so I asked her, I was like, so how do politicians debate?
They don't.
That was sort of it. She's
Yeah.
like, she told me, she's like, you're still thinking like an American,
Yeah.
right? It's just not, and that's where she said, and because it's like this, they don't see war the same way you do.
Right.
It's like their version of this that they see and believe, right, is that they're doing this because, and she's like, the U.S. is clearly aiding the Ukrainians because of this. I'm like, well, we are. She's like, but yes, but that was the thing. And I was like, so what do they think about Zelensky? Like, I was like, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah.
Right? And she gave me a fair perspective. I was like, because look, I'm going to tell you at this point, I think that dude views himself as more a celebrity than he sees himself as a leadership figure.
I can't tell you, man. I've only heard the guy speak like twice, you know, and in both cases it was through an interpreter. So,
Well, okay,
you know, I don't know. I mean, like, I have no grasp on anything about his policies or anything like that, you know.
well, okay. So I want you to. This is again where I was like, please clarify this because I just don't understand this part of the world. And she's like, well, the understanding was that previous to him, he is a sort of a. I don't know if he's a protest candidate that you would say that.
Well, he
but-
was a comedian, wasn't he?
Well, he was,
Yeah, okay.
right? So the whole idea is this is a person that was a complete outsider.
Right.
Right? So she's laughing. She's like, oh, he rides his bike to work. And see, you're laughing because
Yeah.
you know exactly the type of guy this is,
Yeah,
right?
I know what they're trying to paint him as. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
So the whole thing is that she's like, just imagine that every Ukrainian president before this is just blatantly on the take.
Yeah.
Right. So in comes this guy who doesn't
Well, there
come
only
from
been
this
like
world.
two.
Well,
So,
yeah, just super corrupt. And she's like, so pretend that this person is they're young in comparison. They ride their bike to work.
Yeah.
They're reformers. They're all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And, because my take on this is I'm seeing this dude pop up and he's like giving speeches at like the MTV Video Music Awards and shit. I'm like, okay.
Does he speak English?
Shit, like I saw it translated.
Oh, okay.
Right. I don't know if he does, but yeah. So then he pops up and she's like, this guy, and this is where I was like, you still are thinking like an American.
Right.
It's like during his presidency, they made a movie. He made a movie about himself, and I was like. Number one, I don't even know if you could do this here because that would be seen as basically unduly like like they could make a movie about you, right?
Yeah.
But Pat could not make the Pat movie while Pat was president.
No.
Because
I don't even think Donald Trump could pull that one off.
no, number one, I don't know if you're allowed because that may be seen as basically like government support.
Well,
You could argue it, but
You could.
number two, the corniness would be through the roof.
Yeah,
You would be raked over the coals.
yeah,
for your
you
narcissism.
would. Like, I mean, even, like I said, even Donald Trump wouldn't get away with that
No.
one. He bought a fucking hotel across the street from the White House. you know, I mean, I think that was about as far as he could push the envelope. So,
And even then, that was suspect.
yeah, people jumped his shit over that one. Then like, yeah, that was I think that was before he ran for president, or maybe it was while he said he was going to run for president.
Yeah,
He bought that place.
Yeah.
And then people kind of forgot about it after they all went nuts after he actually got elected. So I bet you I don't think he might still own it. I don't know.
I feel like that may have been one of the ones that he had to divest himself from, but I don't remember.
I don't know if he actually did, but yeah, I'm sure the Google could fix that in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, I feel like there was a piece of that, but I don't remember. But yeah, the other part of this that was making
but you're not going to make a movie about yourself.
No, I was like, you would be
buy some presidential steaks. They're the best steaks in the world.
You would just be mocked roundly for that,
sure,
even on your own side. But the other thing was, she was talking to me about how they do business, and she was saying, like, so imagine that you run a business. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, the government comes to you, and they say, all right, well, they all understand that it's not just their business, it's also the government's business, but not really in an official way. So the officials will come here and say, all right, we need your business, right? And what they'll do is they'll make you an offer for 10% of its value.
Okay.
You can say no, then they will come back the next day and say, all right, well, here's our offer, 0% of the value.
Yeah.
But I asked, so what are they really doing? And I was like, if you grease their palms, would they go away? She's like, yes.
Yeah.
She's like, they're soliciting a bribe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's just this part of me where I'm like, I want you to imagine for a second.
Yeah.
In these United States, if any branch of government did that, and that was the other thing.
That would be pay dirt for whatever fucking journalist uncovered that would become like fucking world famous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other piece was, so if
a flat out shakedown like that.
That's what I'm saying.
By the FBI, I can't see it, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is like this.
If you were that business owner, you'd be sitting there thinking, "I hit the fucking lottery today." Are my cameras rolling? Yeah.
You'd be either thinking, A, I'm about to disappear,
right?
Or I'm about to hit the pay dirt. Right.
I get some Nixon tapes going on here, bitch.
Dude, I don't think people disappear anymore, but that's a different thing. But the other part of it was, I said, so and this is the one that I'm trying to like gradually warm up to taking your citizenship. So I'm teaching you about, the different branches of government, all this other stuff. I said, so if there is a government oversight where if somebody comes in and they do this, right, who is the authority that you take that to, right? So if my local policeman oversteps his boundaries,
shake you down.
Here's who I could go to. I would go to this branch, then I would go to this branch, then I would go to my senator.
You mean here?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't do that.
That's what I said. Like, who is and that she's like, all she is like, you're
not getting it.
Thinking like an American.
Yeah.
It's just not like that.
Yeah. So, all right. So I've learned those lessons from several students over the years. Not necessarily from Ukraine or even... So I had one student who's from Romania a while ago, and he kind of sorted me out on that one. It's like, you have to kind of like understand how the Slav brain works on this. Yeah. So it's like, of course somebody's in charge, and of course it's not you. And it never will be. Yeah. So it's kind of go along to get along. But then I had an Indian student a while ago kind of express the same thing.
Christ.
Yeah. So, no, and he was really cool. He was really, really cool. He was actually going for his citizenship on an H-1B. And we were playing this game in class that I play that involves like, different negotiations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And man, he was vicious at it. He was really good. So, and then he was like, this would be a lot easier if I could just bribe you, kind of thing. And people would be shocked when he'd actually throw that out. He kind of did it with a little Santa Claus wink in his eye, kind of thing. Yeah, but so you could tell that he learned this.
Clear that you've seen your father do this once or twice. Yeah.
So it was interesting, but. Yeah, so I don't know though. We'll see how the war pans out.
So that was not something that was, steaming my piss. It wasn't like that, but it was just something fascinating where I was like, you're the closest to this. How's the war going? She's like, don't talk about it.
Yeah, I don't talk about it.
Like, it's just part of life now. It's like, no, man, you're not supposed to get used to the train going over your head every day, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, you're supposed to complain. You're supposed something must be done. Either
Yeah.
I must leave or that train has to go.
Right.
So like, I just sleep with it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Just learn to live
It's
with
fine.
it. Yeah.
It's fine. No, the political things that have been a particular hot things that I don't know if they really boiled me, but they make me laugh. Number one, of course, the voluntary mass movement from border states to inconvenient Democrat places is probably the thing I enjoy the most.
What's this?
This is the
Inconvenient
busing
Democrat
and
places?
planing of illegal immigrants to Democrat places.
Like New York or
Yep. So it's been going to New York. The latest one that I think was the funniest was they sent 50 illegals to Martha's Vineyard.
Are those Democrats there? I thought those were country club Republicans too, man.
Only Obama's lived there. So,
Oh, do they?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, you don't give a shit. Get off my lawn.
well, and that's the funny thing was, so the Democrats out there, the AOCs and the fucking loudmouth, they pointed to the sign out front that says like, "We welcome all people," right?
Mm-hmm.
By the end of by this morning, they'd all been
Oh, fuck yeah.
removed.
Oh, of course. These
Yeah.
are rich people.
Yeah, so it was the whole thing was
Rich people no.
well,
It's a party if it comes to things like
holy
that.
shit. Well, because the thing this was the quotes.
Where
on
did they
this-
send them from? They sent them from Texas?
These were Floridians, I think,
Oh, okay.
perhaps.
Cubans. So.
Dude, I can't remember.
Oh,
They may have been Texans, but I don't remember. From Texas, but yeah.
Oh, it seems like something the Texans would do.
So the whole thing was by the morning, right? The whole thing was there's this crowd of people that are like, "Yeah, welcome. This is great. Keep doing this. This is awesome. We've got space for you," right?
Wait a minute. People in Martha's Vineyard were saying that?
Yeah. So there was this
Yeah,
volunteer
right.
corps, right?
That's the crazy cat lady down at the end of the street, man.
This is where it gets beautiful. is
Not
that-
the people who are wearing boat shoes.
This is where it gets amazing. Then they go out there and they actually interview the people of Martha's Vineyard. And like the best quote I saw was, "They can't do this. It's literally like busing your trash to another city." And
Oh, so the real feelings actually.
oh
come
my
out.
god, I
Oh
was
my God.
dying at that. And then by the end of the day, they were gone
Yeah, of course they were.
and shipped off to somewhere else in Massachusetts. or
Boston.
somewhere.
Off to
Right.
Boston with you. You can go live in Southie. Yeah. So,
And yeah, and so that's
is there stuff going on at the border right now?
there's just like thousands of people.
Yeah, but is that different than usual? I mean, I remember them, like the Haitians and the horses, just like, what was that? That wasn't even a year ago.
Yeah, and it turns out that was bullshit.
Well, I know it was
anyway.
bullshit.
They
Yeah,
were like-
so a lot of people called that one out almost immediately. But, you know, it was also one of those things where it's just like, all right, the border's been that way forever. Like, how many people are actually still coming over? And, like, I don't know. It's so hard to find good stats on that, man. So
Well, I get it. And, you know, and I understand that this is a game. And frankly, I enjoy this so much where, look, this is not a left or right thing, but it's always just anytime somebody says, you know what, bring it. Okay. Anytime that somebody issues a political triple dog dare, I am always like,
Yeah.
you have to go through with this.
right, yeah,
Right?
this is
So-
your honor bound now.
Yeah, so Eric Adams is going nuts.
Who is Eric Adams? He's the New York mayor.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going nuts because shit keeps showing up in his town. It's like, we can't support this.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
I read an article about him like maybe 2 weeks ago where he's been banging on about making sure that everybody gets back into the office because there's like parts of Manhattan that are dying because there's no commuters. So
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know
don't-
how I feel about that one either.
Well, that would have to be like South Manhattan, right?
I have no idea. So I have no idea how many people commute into town every day to work. So I mean, there's 5 boroughs for crying out loud. You
The
know?
boroughs and New Jersey and
New Jersey. I have no idea, but anyway, that's why I remember his name now. That's right. He was the former cop who got elected.
yes,
So, yeah.
but not. My problem is when you elect a former cop, right? Part of me says, what kind of cop are you getting?
Right.
And for me, if I'm going to elect a former cop, okay.
Get Roscoe and ease. You know?
See, okay, there's that.
Yeah.
There's one of two varieties of
Duke boys.
yeah. For all 2 of you that know what that's from.
Yeah.
So there's either that where you're seeing that in this super small town, or there is a like who's the cop you're bringing in, and I'm expecting to see some dude with, yep, it's 2022. You still have that mid-'80s flat top.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And a couple of, like, you're looking at a dude who has, like, a scar across his left eye.
And with the eye patch.
Yeah. And he just comes up there and says, there's a cancer in this town.
Right.
It's crime. And so there's this part of me that says, like, yeah, if I'm going to elect the cop, I want that guy.
Right.
He's that guy, right? Because it's like,
well, isn't that what Eric Adams was kind of billed as? I don't know, man. I don't really watch like fucking
so friendly.
Yeah, I didn't really watch any of that. Like, New York politics is so weird. So
Fucking A, it is.
I mean,
that fucking vampire that's in the governorship right now, that vampire lady, she's terrifying.
I don't know
Kathy
anything
Hochul.
about her.
Yeah.
Did she actually get elected, or she got appointed?
She got
Because Cuomo had to jet. Yeah, that's right.
Oops.
Oops.
I actually fell over and ran into your butt.
Right. With my face. Yeah. So, no, like, that's right. I remember his asses. So, no. But, yeah. Like, I watched a podcast like 2 weeks ago that was all about the fucking shit show that was the Democratic primary for several of those things.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't keep up with it, man. There are too many people, too many candidates.
There's too many noises.
And they're talking about specific blocks within the city. I'm like, okay, fuck, I'm out. You know, so it was like, no, this is not for me. So
yeah, the closest thing about that in like any block that I can tell you about in any detail is Maricopa County in Arizona, and that's just because it's a hot spot. It's sort of it's not quite New York. It's not quite.
Well, that's Phoenix,
right? Yeah. But that's what
Maricopa
I'm saying.
Is huge.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's not like you're in Los Angeles or San Francisco,
right?
Right. It's enough where it's close enough to big city, but also small city, that it's an interesting place to watch to see if this.
What, Maricopa?
Yeah,
there's like fucking 3 million people living in it. That's not small city, bro.
No, but it's not New York. It's not.
Oh yeah, okay, I got you.
It's close enough to small, close enough to big, where it feels like it's representative of America.
Maricopa? Okay. Yeah. I would say Aurora. So
yeah, but I'm saying Aurora never shows up on the news.
Yeah, that's true. But
that's why I'm saying Maricopa comes up.
Yeah. So, well, Maricopa does because, like, Arizona keeps trying to flip purple, but the actual politics down there are pretty bright red. So, you know, I mean, that's that who was the sheriff that they sent to jail?
Joe Arpaio. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
So, it's just like, I don't know. I don't want to throw too many accusations out on the podcast, but if there was a Roscoe out there who's still fucking a little bit racist, so he kind of fit that bill.
A little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit.
You're talking about tent cities. You're talking about
tent cities. That's right. He was the tent city guy. Yeah. So
Sheriff Joe. That's what they used to call him.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my in-laws probably voted for him a couple times. I don't know. So
I think your in-laws probably wrote his name in as president.
I doubt that. my mother-in-law is a Democrat, so yeah.
Is she really?
Yeah. Well, she comes from Maryland. Her whole family is Democrat. Okay. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, but that's it. Are they Democrats or
they're like
actual,
old school Democrats?
Yeah. So they're not fucking garbage Democrats from like the.
I don't know any garbage Democrats, so I mean, I get it. I see them that they're there on Twitter, okay, but like, so there's some people who lean pretty far left, all right, who hang
Yes.
out at the bar.
Sure.
They're not garbage Democrats.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You know, like, I don't know. I was trying to think of this the other day. Because we actually had the infamous day in HR class about, like, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, you know, kind of thing. And, you know, like, students just don't respond to that anymore.
No.
They're so fucking sick of it.
No, their synapses are fried on this shit.
It just is. And, like, if you try and talk about it, you know, you immediately, like, I'm not even in that category, but I get kind of the, okay, boomer look. You know, now, because they've all heard the speeches and stuff, and it's like, why do we have to keep banging this drum? You know, and so, like, I'd say 10 years ago, I probably had some pretty, especially when I was teaching the education college, I had some pretty activist students, you know, who are kind of, but I doubt that there's that many of them left, you know, to tell you the truth. Now they're actually out there fucking teaching.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so they're...
Yeah, but, like, no, like, the generation of students, this was the previous generation. Generation theory's bullshit. So, but, you know, 10 years ago, I'd see a little bit. There are trends. 10 years ago, I would see it. So, and nowadays, like, my students are so fucking sick of it. So...
Well, I mean, that's sort of it. Is you're absolutely right, because it's the same sort of situation where you have basically this class of cyberpunk-haired Democrats where
the Denverites. Yeah.
Where, I'm sorry, man, it's just this, the whole...
Cyberpunk Democrats.
It's just cyberpunk-haired Democrats where it's like, you know, I'm not trying to judge people based on my appearance, but it's a motif. And the whole motif is basically like, we had these same kind of people, and they existed 20 years before
Sure.
and 20 years before, where it's like, your version of leftist radical politics is basically taking something and pushing it as far as you go, because it's essentially part of your rebellious identity.
Yeah.
Right? That's part and parcel.
Yeah, that's why we need to ruin your Star Trek movies. So,
yeah, and I part of my argument here is that you know, there was a point, Patrick, I'm just gonna say it this way, 40-year-olds didn't get tattoos. You know, I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people, like, you're 50 and you're wearing, you know, your Converses to the office and you're showing off, oh, I got this new tattoo, and like, you know, these...
Yeah, that didn't used to happen.
No, it didn't. There was a part of it that was like,
if you had tattoos, you'd better have been in the service or something.
Well, and I'm talking about, like, women. This is what I'm saying here is...
Oh, I don't even remember that when I was younger.
That's what I'm saying, is there's this piece of it where some of that's bleeding over because...
Yeah, but that's our generation that kind of did that.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But this is... For a while, it was just sort of relegated. It's like, well, of course you believe these things. I did when I was 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So eventually you had to grow up. So...
Right? And it was like, yeah, then there's, like, the cool Democrats over here where it's like, what is the message? And it's like, well, Jeffrey, I think poor people need to eat too.
It's like, oh,
you know,
what does that mean?
That's a good point. It's like, you know, that's a good point. I mean, I was just heating my house with them before, but I think... But you know what? That's a good point.
That's a good point. I should feed them. They'll last longer.
Yeah, and then, of course, I think you were the first one to break it to me. He says, like, Jeffrey, did you ever actually look up the statistics on how many people are using food stamps in this country?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I'm sure it's somewhere between 45 and 60%.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, you know how many people have got an EBT card? It's like everybody except for taxpayers, of which I'm the only one. Yeah.
Said, okay, well...
The polling on it is still that way, though, man. If you ask people, just in general polls, how many people are actually, like, on welfare, people are like, oh, it's fucking half, you know? So, and it's like, no, it's actually way less than you think. Yeah.
And the duration upon which, because, yeah, the the classic Limbaugh, the welfare queens,
Well, that was Reaganism. So if you
Well-
don't remember, yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the perpetuation of that,
Yeah.
where they'd sit there and talk about we have like third and fourth generation welfare queens. I'm like, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
It's like there's one.
I think there's one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me Google this a little bit more, and I'll
Yeah.
find you another 5.
Yeah.
Right.
She's got a sister. There we go. I got
You
two.
know, and
Yeah.
I get it. It's not as it's obviously not as severe as it's presented. It's not something that doesn't exist.
No.
But it certainly isn't a fucking scourge on the.
No. No, it's one of the top 2 things that are always like misquoted by Americans as being a humongous part of the federal budget. So one being welfare, and that's not true.
Yeah.
And then number 2 being foreign aid, which is also not true. We don't give out shit, in terms of our federal budget every single year.
I mean,
So-
what's funny is we do still give out more than
Oh, it's a lot. Yeah.
than pretty much any other country.
All of them combined.
Yeah.
All of them combined. So, but it's still like 0.5%. So it's Uncle Sam's couch kid change, man. So like send $40 billion
Thank you.
over
Yeah.
to fucking Ukraine, everybody freaks the fuck out. It's like, do you know how much we pay the DOD every single month? You know, so
And all right, so I will make the concession because I bounce back and forward between this on a regular basis. When I sit there and I look at the actual pie graph and say, all right, where's all the money go? And you look at the first one, it's like, well, that's all military, right? And
Yep.
there is part of me that says the world's in a better and will be in a better place with less big world powers than a whole bunch of them in a close area that have relatively equal military power.
yeah, that doesn't work. So we've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah.
I have several copies of Axis and Allies.
Yeah, you do. And and I mean, if we're going to like spears and arrows and everything territory, like, yeah, a lot of this is just proximity with relative equal military might. So
Yeah.
part of me is just, it says, all right, if we're down to 1 or 2 big powers that so I'm not saying the United States is perfect with our military track record. I absolutely won't. But it struggles for me to think about powers in world history that had this much military might
Yeah.
and exercise the amount of restraints
Yeah.
that our government uses on a hour by hour basis when it comes down to
Yeah.
like, so what do you guys really do in the Navy? It's like, we keep the shipping lanes of the world entirely open.
Yeah. We kill pirates now. Yeah.
Right. And
So-
don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure that those dudes on those Navy boats and shit get a kick out of it.
Oh, they probably love that shit when they actually get to fire the guns for a change.
Yeah, like blowing
Yeah.
away pirates is probably like, the same way that a guy, it's just probably a dude that you work with at the, or go to the bar with. There's one dude, it's like, oh yeah, I grew up on a farm. It's like, yeah, and it's like, so we blew away prairie dogs.
Right. Yeah.
You have to because they will
Yeah.
hurt the horse's feet.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like, but you take a little perverse joy in it, don't you?
Yeah.
It's
You
like-
use the 22 Magnums, don't you? You want to see heads explode?
So I imagine there's some dudes out there like, hey, look, pirates.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, this harpoon's about to expire, sir. So, do we need to really spend $2 million on a missile in order to blow up a rowboat full of guys with AKs? The answer is, sir, load and lie. Right?
Are you gonna push the button?
I'm gonna push the button myself, man.
Okay, all right,
Motherfucker.
'cause-
Yeah. So yeah, no, I get that, man. So yeah, so a big chunk of the federal budget, of course, is the military. Now, like you're kind of picking at something here that's been a little bit of a change for me over the last I'd
What's
say,
this?
like 2 years or so. So like maybe 3 years ago, before COVID and stuff like that, I used to listen to like a lot of Chomsky-ite kind of like arguments against.
Oh,
Like, and I
okay,
mean, I
yeah,
have a lot of
yeah.
respect for the guy and things like that.
Yeah, of course.
But like, I think I maybe before we started the podcast, but I think I pushed back on some. Like I was telling you at one point in time, it was like, like I'm getting sick and tired of like a lot of people just bemoaning American empire.
Yeah,
Because there's
yeah.
like what you're saying, it's not like a traditional empire. So if you give the British fucking nuclear weapons and a humongous navy and a completely intact army and an infinite supply of gas after World War II, India is still part of fucking Britain at this point in time. Maybe it's a benevolent empire in some respects and stuff, but it is still going to be a fucking empire. So whereas like, okay, we had all those things after, the end of World War II, and we didn't keep France.
It wasn't ours.
Right, I know, but it could have been. We could have been like, oh no, we paid for all this real estate.
Right.
So France is now state number 51.
Right. Right.
Send us 2 senators, please.
Oh, well, there's a certain, kind of rather sizable island in the Pacific that we could have been like, yeah, this is America Island.
Yeah. This is West America.
Yeah.
Y'all need to start speaking English around here.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing. It's like Korea is not an American territory.
It is not.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, and yes, that doesn't mean it's perfect, but there's a lot of things because people can say like, what exactly is Guam? Like, it's a strategic place we need in case of this, and this.
Yeah, and we took it from the Spanish, so 100 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So there are some weird things, and I can say like, well, why haven't you cleaned this up? Why has it, this? Why is the Dominican Republic the way it is?
Why isn't Puerto Rico a state? Yeah.
Right. Like, and I think part of it too is I also think that it's weird because you say that, but then there's also a lot of Puerto Ricans that say no, we need to maintain our hegemony in some ways.
Yeah.
We kind of like this both way thing, but it's fine. But yeah, you're absolutely right, because there's no version of this where I'm telling you, in that exact same situation, yeah, you're like, well, this is ours. And
right.
The cost of us, well, sort of policing this part of Germany from these guys is the annexation of all of your stuff.
Yeah, you got to, and coal shipments every month or some bullshit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's why I just don't buy some of those arguments. The other thing that I've seen lately, and I think we were talking about this on a podcast a couple weeks ago, is I see so many people now who are so self-righteous about fucking Iraq, okay, and Afghanistan in some respects. But, I see a lot of people talking about that. I was like, you were fucking 6 when that happened.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, I'm not going to try and, rank, old age man, kind of stuff on you here.
Yeah.
But, your point exactly. I remember 2002, fucking 99% of this country wanted to buy, glass futures.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because really, there was a level of, absolute ape shit that this country can go if we all agree on things, and that's the only time in my life where I've actually seen that. So where everybody was on board with that shit.
Oh yeah.
And you had a couple weirdos out there who was like, oh, maybe we should think before we actually invade Iraq. Everybody's like, fuck you, let's go. Well,
because then they turn around and be like, maybe this didn't happen to you, tough guy, but I knew a guy who was working in.
Oh yeah. I knew a guy who was working in the trade center, or I lost my job because of this. I mean, that was common in the airline industry. I was in the airlines at the time, man. And so people were like, oh, fuck. I mean, it took them, 9 months after that before they laid me off? But, they got me too. And so it was like one of those things where it's like, are we going to Iraq? We're going to Iraq. Fuck yeah. Let's roll. Get rid of that motherfucker, kind of thing. So, and it was later in hindsight and stuff. And that's why George W. Bush became so unpopular his last 2-3 years of presidency. Yeah. And people forget that, too. They look at him now and, he paints cool pictures and things. But
there are still people that think about this as like...
Well, there's people who want to prosecute him as a war criminal. I think that's a little bit too far, too. But there's a lot of people who forgot how unpopular that motherfucker was in 2007, 2008. So,
Bro, if you want to talk about the house that Jon Stewart built, it all comes from this time period of entire networks and shows devoted to lampooning this guy.
Well, yeah, and then I mean this whole, I mean even Colbert's career, you can point to that too as just being a springboard off that as well. Because yeah, it was probably like, I would say it was probably about 2007 or so when, you know, people really started to turn on George W. Bush. Because if you remember, and I remember that I was thinking about this the other day. You remember Iraq? So 2003, we go in. Things are cool for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden the wheels started coming off the bus. Okay. So, and that's when like everybody knew somebody who was deployed. And then it was like another year before everybody knew someone who came back missing a leg or something because of IEDs and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was about 2008 when like, it was like, the fuck, man, we've been here for 5 years and this place is even worse than it was like a year after we got here. So, yeah.
Well, because there was this question of what exactly. We're all certain that at this point that democracy, just like give it another few minutes.
Yeah, it'll
right?
be it'll work.
Don't flip the fucking pancake early, all right?
It's gonna be nothing but slop on the other side. Yeah.
It's just like you gotta let democracy cook, dude. So don't flip it early, right? And the more you touch it, the worse it's gonna cook, right?
Yeah.
So then we're all just sitting there waiting and saying like, so when does the McDonald's Corporation and Starbucks declare ownership of this place?
Right. Yeah. When do we see every Iraqi wearing Levi's?
Exactly. Yeah. And it just didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
It didn't. And again, that's part of the process where it's like, well, guys, do you want to do this or do you not want to do this? One of the things, Patrick, the other thing, we didn't even talk about this, is the passing of Queen Elizabeth, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there is this huge, because the woman was so old, right?
She was 97?
Something like that, right? So much to the point where if you go back through her history and think about the time periods that she's covered.
She was a mechanic in World War II.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this, the hot debate right now is whether or not it's just like, oh, she lived a good long life. She tried to do the best she could.
Yeah.
You pass respectfully. Or, of course, the argument is, well, I'm going to spit on your grave because you were an imperialist.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
I'm going to tell you, so that right now, I did say, when did she die? She died last week, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so I did see some news on that. And then, you know, like, so, like, England's got, like, this weird brand of lefty, you know, that's just, there's a weird form of, like,
well, it's
really self-flagellating, like, kind of, like, everything's bad, everything's empire.
It's where punk rock comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
All right, so so I saw some of those guys starting to say things about the monarchy. And then there are other people that I pay attention to who are a little bit left of center in England, and all of a sudden they've become staunch royalists. You know? Like
no,
immediately.
I was in the queue. I've been in the queue for 13 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's like, like I don't know what it's going to be like having a piece of money without her picture on it, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, 2 years to flip it over.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it was just like a mad rush of like, you pick your lines, like we're playing nations here and you just run to one side. And so there's some motherfuckers who bolted for that side, and there's 2 of them over there and 50 of us over.
Yeah,
it's gonna be the shortest game you've ever played, man.
I get it, you know, and don't get me wrong, like that crowd that is essentially that underground Blitz kids, you know.
That's exactly who it is.
The underground, basically the punk rock scene, where it's just like, I hate everything.
Yeah.
Actually, I can tell you what, these are the same people that were the super like anti Thatcher crowd, basically. And look, that's fine. These are all worthy criticism.
Yeah, sure.
But I can also sit there and say, like, I know it's fun to sit there and talk about how all colonization was bad.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay? Now, I will turn around and say, when we left Iraq, it became Iraq, but worse Iraq afterwards.
I don't know about that.
Well,
is it as bad as it was?
Well, okay, so
I can't get good news on that. So
okay, so here's the thing. Did it turn the corner? The answer is no.
Are you sure?
In terms of being a more developed and, like, have they clamped down on the bullshit that essentially caused these problems in the first
Well,
place.
okay. So, well, I don't know about that, man, because they did have the whole thing about ISIS, and that was what, 2017, 2016?
Yeah.
Okay, and they actually did manage to push those motherfuckers back out. So
They pushed them out, but they still exist.
yeah, I know, but my understand. See, this is something that I'm going to have to go do some reading on this because
All right.
I don't really have a good feel for Iraq.
Okay.
I saw something about some election bullshit going on before.
Right.
So, but I also saw some stuff that said like, oh, okay, actually their elections are actually somewhat above board now, and so they have a parliamentarian system, which is how we've stood up just about every country. Nobody's copied our constitution, so
Not in a while.
nobody has ever copied our constitution.
Well, they've taken parts from it.
Oh, yeah, they take parts of
That's
it,
what
yeah.
I'm saying. It's not like they look at it and say, oh, fuck this.
No.
They pick and choose. There's a lot of-
Interestingly, the Bolsheviks in 1917. So
I know
the previous guys
Yeah.
who were in charge is not the Mensheviks, but there's an interim government between the Tsar and the Bolsheviks.
Yeah.
There, they actually were about to adopt the U.S. Constitution, so making them the only people who actually considered adopting it in toto. So.
What an interesting turn of events.
God, that would have been fascinating.
Yeah.
They were like this close to doing it too, man.
Man, it always gets to me that we were.
They put the Bolsheviks in charge of the police. Oops. He was a compromise. So, but anyway, have you ever read anything on that shit, man? That thing is like so fucking seat of your pants. So it's hilarious.
Oh, the actual events.
The
of
actual events
of the revolution.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing how quickly it goes off the rails and how smart Lenin was to realize is like, oh, well, yeah, we're not getting a seat at the table. It's like, so he decides to, volunteer basically. He's like, we'll take care of security services.
That's absurd.
Well, it's all hindsight,
yeah,
man. I
yeah,
mean, at the time, it was like, well, the entire Russian army had basically melted into nothing, and so it was like, okay, we'll let him fucking write traffic tickets.
And this is what I was asking was I was asking like how far back into Russia's history, right, does this go? This attitude that you're talking about. Now, unfortunately, most of those people weren't too well versed in Russian history. I mean, I've had to talk about some of this recently.
Yeah.
With some of my other students who are doing like projects on it and stuff. I'm like, does this go back to the founding? Does this go back to like the Rus? Does this go like where? Because I also have a number of students that it's weird. I never expected this, given the influx of a fucking like race-based junk that they were turning in last year, right? A lot of students right now that they're jumping into American Lit, and the question is, how does American literature fit into the fundamental definition of what it means to be an American? Now, what's interesting, right, is there are certain aspects of being an American that I can take you to from the very first settlers, right?
Yeah, sure.
That still exist to this day.
Yeah.
A lot of them, of course, grounded in Protestantism. And
Puritanism in particular.
you want to go that route. I mean, I don't even want to talk about our fun little Calvinist phrase. It's just like, well, you already know if you're going to go to heaven or not. So
predestination.
it's
Right?
just it's like, well, of course I'm going to go because I run a successful business.
Well, duh. Yeah, duh. Look at my crops; they're great.
Which, of course, the to go back to it's like, so the conclusion is poor people go to hell. All right, got it. All right,
Making it very, very, very similar to all other forms of fucking religion. So,
but yeah,
maybe the exception of Catholicism. So.
Well, what do you mean? Like Catholicism is steeped in.
Well, yeah, but all you have to do is say you're sorry at the end, and you're good. So.
In Catholicism?
Yeah. That's the whole idea behind the bedside confession, or the deathbed confession.
In Protestantism?
Oh no, that's a thing in Catholicism.
It's a weak ass. The whole doctrine is based off of faith without works is nothing.
Well, yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, so, well, Catholicism, yeah, but there is the get out of jail free card. Otherwise,
that's the Peter Paul split, man.
No, I understand that. So, yeah,
Look, if you break down the details of it, yes, the good thief repented on the cross next to Jesus, and he made it in.
So yeah, but I mean that's also like the concept of purgatory and things like that. That you know,
That is uniquely Catholic.
uniquely Catholic.
Yeah.
So
Because what the afterlife needs is bureaucracy.
hey man, why wouldn't it have it?
Dude, people need jobs.
People need jobs.
People
Yeah,
need
you gotta
jobs.
see something around here.
Like,
We're talking eternity, man.
no,
So,
I
yeah.
understand. No, it's
Hey man, you get Fridays off. It's
no, purgatory is like the remote work of like
great. Remote work.
like because people are just like we got to justify purgatory. So
Right.
like if you're not coming to the office,
It's just
man,
like a Chinese factory.
kind of like
Yeah.
you can't do purgatory from home. You have to. You know?
You're gonna come in at least 2 days a week.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not picking on it. Like all these things, like they work. It's fine.
But what's your point about American lit? So
Well, so that was my question was, all right, so there were things that I can say are uniquely American, right, that permeate even to this day.
Sure.
Right? And you can say that these are uniquely American attributes. That's what I was trying to, and maybe you can answer some of this too, is if you go back, it's like how far into Russian history do you get this attitude of, no, it's just the way it is.
It's kind of in there for,
knocks over my business. That's what I do.
So my knowledge of Russian history ends like any time before, like maybe Dostoevsky. So I don't know anything about like Peter the Great, Catherine the Great, stuff like that. I know that there's like 200 or 300 years of history there after they boot the Mongols out that I don't
Yeah.
really know anything about. And then my real interest doesn't really pick up until the Soviets. So, and even then, it was always like how they interacted with the Nazis. So, because like I didn't really care about like, you know, the Eastern Front in World War II for a long time. You know, I had to kind of like I had to go in the German route, all right, before I got interested in that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And then only after that did I actually get interested in Stalin, and then before that, and that eventually led to Lenin, which eventually, unfortunately, led to Marx, and so the fucking snake ate its own tail. So on that one, because that one goes back to Nazism eventually. Yeah. So
I just love the contempt that you say that with.
man, I see so many people who talk about Marxism and they've never fucking read it. They've read the little book, not the big one.
Say, yeah.
The little book doesn't fucking count, okay? If you want to understand Marxism, you got to go read the big one, which is insufferable. And I have been forced to read it in my life, and I have read it. And so, you know.
So all right. So if you were, take this from an educational standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. You have put you've put your instructor glasses on.
Okay.
You put your instructor beanie on. And what do...
Get a little helicopter?
Yeah. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to take those cyberpunk Democrats, right
Okay.
now. Give them the scoop on what they're missing about Marx.
Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, it's going to depend on the group. So, like, most of them don't understand that, first of all, Marx doesn't talk about equality. All right? That's something that he fucks... That's something that lefties fuck up just as bad as Jordan Peterson does. So, he does not talk about equality. So, neither him nor Engels. So, they talk about oppression in it. And so, it's the idea of not actually being, like, forced into... servitude rather than... So he goes through this entire long argument about how, like, all right, first there was God. All right, cool. God doesn't exist and religion is bullshit. So whatever. So then the next thing is, then there was slavery, and this is our economic system. Then there was feudalism. Then there's capitalism. So, but in all these cases, all you're doing is exchanging one dude for, like, somebody else who's your boss. And that's the part of Marx that's pretty fucking accurate. So, you know, and so, like, the whole idea behind communism was like, well, how do we get rid of the boss? All right. So, and then he takes 2 books and about 1,800 pages to try and figure that out. So, but nowhere in there will you ever find him talk about collectivization. Nowhere in there will you ever see him talk about state control. Nowhere in there, anywhere, will he talk about equality in terms of outcomes. Okay? So basically, he's like just ranting, you know, for 1,800 pages. Well, actually, some of it's really quite insightful, but like it's not correct. All right? So other economists have come after him and basically pointed out like a lot of flaws in Marxism. or at least in Marx's economic thinking. So, but, you know, you hear lefties and they don't see it that way. It's like, oh, well, you know, communism, you know, is this thing where the government has to guarantee me a job, you know, and stuff. Or it's one of these things where it's like, oh, okay, so, you know, let's tear down the capitalists, all right, because communism or Marxism is all about equality outcome. None of those things are fucking true. And so I can tell immediately when someone hasn't read that fucking book. That's not what he was talking about, man. So he was talking about how do you get rid of your boss. So, you know.
Which, don't get me wrong, is a legitimate, I would say it's a legitimate avenue to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it's a pervasive problem, then yes, I understand. And then, of course, the, you know, counter argument, and I'm not saying this is a good or bad, it's just, all right, cool. How do you get anything done, though?
Well, I mean, that's the part. He doesn't really go into that. He doesn't go into the management of the firm and how it should be done.
Right.
There's other economists who've come after him and have talked about things that are ridiculously stupid. So, like worker co-ops and stuff like that, you know?
Right.
Anybody who espouses like the idea of a worker co-op is cherry picking like one or two examples where it's worked, or like farmer co-ops,
Right.
which have worked because the farmers are fucking capitalists. All right, they all own their land. All right, and so if you're really successful, and there's 10 of you who live in this county, then yes, you can form a co-op and then go take your boots to the railroad and make sure that they actually ship your fucking grain. All right, but that's because you have assets underneath you, you know? So they just don't get that. Or like, there's so many people out there that I see this now, and don't get me started on fucking unions again, man.
Well, that has been making the news, specifically within the railways.
Give it a next podcast. I will rant about that and how fucking stupid both sides are on this one. And Joe Biden's sitting there patting himself on the back so he can take his fucking scam track train back to Delaware every weekend. You know, so don't get me started on that one. So, but you know, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, unions will fix everything. Unions fix nothing. Okay. Now, if your job is really shitty and your boss is a dick, okay, get a union. All right, that's probably the best thing you can do. All right, but like what is the silver rule of union out there is like, you know, if you got a union, you probably deserve it. You know, you've done something shitty to your workers over the years, and they got wise and they used the law, which is good that it's there. So, National Labor Relations Act. So, probably one of America's finest laws. All right, so. And they flipped your shit, man. So, you know, they can do that, all right? Especially if you're an asshole. And your company treats people like dirt. That's what happens. All right? Yeah. So, but like the other rule behind that one is that there's nothing that a union can do for a worker that a good manager can't do better. So, you know, it's really like if you have like decent management in your company and stuff like that, they can take care of you in ways that a union can never take care of you, man. So, because you get in a union, the first rule that's going on in the book is what, Jeffrey?
Oh, you join it.
Well, no. Well, okay, so the second rule.
If you have a union, get in it.
Okay, so yeah, you get in the union. All right, so that's the first rule. So,
okay.
Unless you don't have a union and you have open shop union, which is not a union. So, but whatever.
Which is what I was in.
Well, that's why you weren't a union. You were an association. So
no, dude, it wasn't even an association.
I know, man.
No, fuck that. Because like even at like associations, like they'll serve like orange drink and like crackers. Like this is not a fucking clubhouse, man. It's so it was.
You got the townhouse crackers.
Jesus Christ, man.
So.
But okay, so what was the question?
What's the first rule of the union after you have to join the union? What governs everything in a union?
Seniority.
Yeah, fuck that shit. So that's the thing that nobody actually recognizes. So I see all these people who are 25 or 26. Oh, we should get a union. It's like, you know who's going to get fucked by that? It's going to be you, buddy. You with the no seniority. Oh, and guess what? You want to grow up and actually do a little bit better in your job and get promoted? Fuck you. You got to wait till that guy dies over there before you get a promotion around here, son. You know? So, and that's one of the things, man, that's just like people don't realize that. And the reason why every union out there adopts seniority rules is because it's too damn hard to sort out another system that's actually equitable. I have never worked for a union that didn't have seniority rules.
It's the it's the one that is least victim to litigation because
No, there's no shenanigans.
Yeah, because
what's your hire date?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You get the promotion.
Because you can't sit there and say like, well, okay, hold on. Now, I would ask you this. Do you consider the military to be some form of labor union in its own way?
No, you can quit a labor union. You quit the military, you go to jail. So
Never retire, but I got you. But,
right, yeah.
but in terms of, they do have things where it is like, as my dad used to call it, was the checkbox system.
Yeah, you gotta check your boxes. And
so
you come up for review every so often, and if there's like a lot of cutoffs in the military where if you hit a certain rank and you don't make the next rank after a couple of years, they do boot you out.
Right.
So but no union works like that.
Right.
So,
but it is a system that's the closest thing to a meritocracy, not meritocracy, sort of like quasi middle, where at least they're open and honest about like, okay, well, you did this, this, and this. Okay, instead of.
Well, you mean in the military or in a union?
In the military, like in terms of like not being seniority, but also not being the like I don't know version of private enterprise of like, why'd you get hired? Don't know.
Yeah.
Were you the most qualified? Don't know.
Don't know. Yeah, military is different though, man, because first of all, it's a larger organization than any company.
Exactly. Yeah.
So second of all, there's a steep tradition. So like, you can argue that it's a meritocracy, okay? But I guarantee you, if you go to the academy, you're going to get promoted faster than just about anybody in their fucking ranks.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Even if you're retarded. So, if you can make it through the academy, which does happen. And
it just depends on what are you good at.
Well, it's not necessarily what you're good at, but if your daddy's like a senator, you're going to be fine, kind of thing. So, and so like, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that the military is a much more meritocratic system. I'd say it has the potential to be, and in certain cases, in times of necessity, it would be. Okay, so if you go through a war, the meritocracy comes out in the military in some respects.
Right.
You spend 25 years behind a desk, it's going to go back to, basically being a giant union.
Yeah.
So, because I've worked for unions where you could get step increases if you did like particular training activities within a year and stuff like that. But really, when it came down to it, you lived and died by your seniority. It depended on what kind of shifts you were available for, depending on what kind of days off you were going to get. So it depended on like if there were openings in a different craft or something like that, if other people bid on it. So, it wasn't a question of meritocracy at that point in time. It was like, okay, who's got the lower seniority date? All right, you get the slot, bro. And so, because all of you are equally qualified. So, that's just like, it's a great system if you want to be a punch clock. So not too many people, as we were talking about last time in this world, in on the podcast, not too many people in this world want to be punch clocks anymore.
No, because professional YouTuber is not a punch clock job.
From a professional YouTuber is not a punch clock job. Mr. Beast does not have a seniority date.
Dude, think about those grumbly ass, like that first and second generation of YouTube quote unquote entertainers. Because if we talk about the early days of YouTube, when it was either all copyrighted material, so like episodes of things broken up into 10 minutes,
or Star Wars Kid,
or Star Wars Kid, or that first class of quote unquote entertainers, right, that were doing programs. Like, how salty must some of these guys be? Like, well, I just got here before.
Yeah.
I was here first. I should be the one that's making $26 million to share my stupid ass opinions and say, oh no, right? It's like, oh my gosh, right? So there's a crowd of people that are probably fucking really salty about that, because like right now it's like, all right, so I gave 6 of my best years trying to do this, and now some asshole, right, who's so I understand that. So YouTuber is not a seniority position.
No.
And I don't think a lot of people would be happy with that.
No, I don't think so either, man.
It's not a punch clock job.
No. So, but like, I don't know, like my students, I mean, maybe they're different because of course they're getting a college degree and stuff, but like none of them think that way anymore. So, in terms of like, Going out there, it's about speed running the system, trying to get as much money as you possibly can so you don't have to work anymore. So
That's fine.
it is fine, but it's not going to work out for 95% of them, man. So, it really isn't.
No,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I've said this before. Okay, I will say this. I say this to students. I say this kind of thing is what you have to ask yourself is whatever it is that you're looking to do. Because I had to reconcile this myself. Is
Yeah, sure.
when all's said and done, if nothing ever takes off, are you happy that you made the pursuit?
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
If you just value it, say like, look, you have no control over whether or not something takes off, regardless of the quality. Okay? It's just, look, the market needs this, or this person knew this. There's nothing fair regarding this at all.
No.
Okay? The most, I don't know if it's worthwhile to plug anything that's like 10 years after the fact, but the channel research indicates should be the number 1 or 2 channel on YouTube because of the guy's presentation style.
Yeah.
And the sheer entertaining way that he went about doing Let's Plays.
Yeah.
But, okay, talent and attention to detail and going for things that are off the beaten path, it just didn't pay out.
No.
But are you satisfied
Well, and he
with
didn't
the
keep
pursuit?
with it either.
Well, no.
So, yeah.
No. And frankly, I would say this is, I can't, specifically tell the future, but based on the trends, right? I never saw him making a thumbnail where he was like making that shocked face and
the cutout shock face thumbnail.
So I mean,
I know the guy who actually kind of like. There's a YouTube channel that I watch, and he's like, giving advice on YouTube. He's kind of the guy who invented that.
Yeah.
So he's not very proud of it either. But it works.
It does. It does.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, there are guys that you look at from there. It's like that dude wouldn't have made the shock.
Right? Yeah. I did see an argument the other day. I can't remember what I was watching. Probably YouTube on this one.
Why not?
Well, I spend most of my TV time on YouTube anymore. So, but he was actually making a really interesting point about how like YouTube's done this thing where it's really smashed a lot of barriers. So like
Definitely.
if you take a look at Mr. Beast, the guy's not exactly a 10. So, he would not make it in Hollywood. So he wouldn't even get on a fucking game show. Okay, but here he is turning like, profits per episode that put like television series, like an annual series, to shame.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so, and I mean, it's just because the guy recognized that, oh, actually, you know what? People really like fucking game shows, but we can do a different kind every single week, on this. And that was after he did a gaming channel for like a year and it didn't go anywhere. So, but it was an interesting point that he made. So, it was something that gave me a moment of reflection to realize it was like, yeah, actually, you know what? You're right. So he would not have probably been as successful if he had packed up his shit and moved to California. So,
well, I mean, on that same token, right? I can't, speak to this because I've never really enjoyed a single bit of his music, or nor was it ever really for me. But Justin Bieber was a YouTuber.
yeah,
And
that's true.
for some reason, at that time period, again, if he went through the standard studio system, the music studio system, I don't know if he'd have been picked up.
I don't know.
I don't know if
Yeah.
he'd have just been thrown in there. But the fact of the matter is, at some point, at that point in the internet, girls said like, we like this androgynous boy that looks like a young lesbian and has a young lesbian haircut.
Canadian.
It's young Canadian lesbian haircut.
With posters in his bedroom.
And he destroyed it.
Yeah,
right?
he did.
And he took the world by storm. And again,
Yeah.
if you went by the traditional means, like I'm talking about, like I know enough about media history to know when fucking radio stations,
Yeah.
okay, individual radio stations in individual cities
Yeah.
would have local bands come beat up their doors.
Yep.
And have them as like, could you please play our tape?
Yeah, player tape. Yeah.
Right. And that made all the difference.
Yeah, it did.
So, all right. Anyway, we're past time.
Oh, yep, we are. Book 33.
Okay.
All right. So support your local radio station, I guess.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why?
Traffic and weather together. It's
That will never change.
Yeah, will never change.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
All right, I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
Traffic and weather.